there, it's Audrey from Maker's Greenhouse. I just wanted to take a very quick minute here to talk about 5 important things when starting your plants from seed. Number 1 is container. At some point or another, you're going to start your seeds in something. And so taking a minute to think about what kind of container you're going to use, it can be really helpful to get you started. That container could be anything from the great outdoors to a raised bed to a container outside to a seed starting tray indoors, or any sort of small container with good drainage that you can start seeds with in an indoor setting. I am using a Grow Ease, I think it's called, self-watering system from Gardener Supply this year. It's the first year I'm using it, but I have utilized the seed tray method for the last, almost decade now of seed starting, and I have had great success with it. The second thing to think about is soil. I like to utilize a seed starting mix that is pre-made that I get from either a nursery or a big box store. I prefer an organic seed starting mix just because a lot of the seeds that I start, we end up eating later down the road, those plants. So I prefer using organic, but it is in no way a necessary thing. I know a lot of people who like to make their own seed starting mix. If that's not something that is appealing to you, feel free to just start with whatever you can find. But seed starting mix is not the only thing you can use. I have started seeds before in potting mixes, especially if I'm putting them right into the container where they're going to be growing outside. I've started seeds in a raised bed mix and just my native garden soil that I have in my yard. Any of those things are possible. However, keeping in mind, what kind of soil am I going to be able to use logistically will help get you on the right track for researching what kind of things you're going to have to think about. Am I going to need to switch them from this, nice fluffy seed starting mix to a more robust soil later on? Am I going to have to amend my soil with things to make it a little bit easier for my seeds to start? Those kinds of things. The third thing to think about is water. How are you going to be watering your seedlings? Because alongside watering is time and timeline. It's pretty crucial with starting seeds that you're able to keep your seeds pretty moist consistently as they are germinating. So that was my biggest probably mess up when I first started, was not being consistent with watering them and allowing my soil to dry out completely before remembering to water it again. A dry seed is sometimes a dead seed, so you got to make sure that it stays pretty moist without being sopping wet consistently. I utilize a couple of different methods when they are just in their tray and not germinated yet, or if they're just teeny tiny baby seedlings, I will utilize a mister or some other type of sprayer that has a really fine mist. I've used all sorts of things. I've used like a child's hair spray bottle, or the mist setting on my hose to just give a fine mist, just because when they're really little or when they haven't germinated completely yet, a more heavy stream can sometimes dislodge the seed or the little baby seedling, and I want to avoid that if at all possible to give them a good start. Once they're a little bit more robust, I would just utilize a good old watering can or a gentle stream and my hose to make sure that they stay watered. But like I said, the big thing is that you are able to provide that water and able to provide that water consistently. The next thing to think about is light, and that is another one that's super, super important. Seedlings need a lot more light than I thought when I first got started. The windows that I have in my house is where I first started my indoor seed starting, and it simply was not enough light. I could not get enough light through my windows in my home to keep my seedlings happy. So I ended up going with a grow light situation, and I've done several different things. I found that the grow light, the bulbs, can go into any kind of lamp that you already have and can be pretty helpful, so long as you can give them enough concentrated light. I've used like a desk lamp before with a grow bulb in it, and it works out pretty nicely. I also really enjoy like the shop style grow bulbs that can hang over a shelf or a table or something like that. I found good success with that, and they're not super expensive. If you have a little bit more of a budget and space, you can go all sorts of crazy with getting pre-designed setups. Like they have grow light stations with shelves and levers to move your lights up and down and stuff like that that are super fancy. Those are extremely fun to use, I'm sure. It's never been something that I've had the space for, but they're really cool. If you have the budget and space for it, go for it. If you're starting seeds outdoors, make sure that you have enough light in your outdoor setting to grow the seeds and plants that you are working with. And then the last thing to think about is wind. Right now, when my seeds are just germinating, they're still under the soil. Airflow is not going to be super important. In fact, too much airflow can dry out your seedlings, the soil too much. And so, you kind of want to find that balance. But as soon as these seedlings start to grow up and get a little bit bigger, airflow is going to be really important for them to keep them healthy. Number one, you want to make sure that you're avoiding damp, situations where funguses or other sort of moisture related issues can occur. But the other thing is that the wind or airflow allows for the stem of your plants to grow stronger. I like to think of it as like their daily workout, so that when you're ready to plant them outdoors, they are strong and can handle the wind and other situations that they will get outdoors. So for indoors, I like to use little fans. We have fans all over the house just because our kids like to sleep with fans. So we've got the cheap little fans that we can kind of put someplace nearby. They don't have to be right up close to it. In fact, I generally encourage people to stay a little bit further back so that they get the nice gentle wind, but not anything too intense. But I've used all sorts of things, little clip-on fans. I've used bigger, like battery-powered shop fans. Now in the greenhouse, we have fans set up in the ceiling to give pretty even oscillating wind to the seedlings, but there's a lot of different options. Hopefully those 5 things help get you started on the right direction and how to start planning out your seed starting. If you are a seed starting noob, hopefully you could pick up a gem or 2 of information in that one. If this is something you've been doing for years, I'd love to hear from you. What kinds of things have been helpful for you in your seed starting journey? Pieces of information or tools or equipment that you have found just really helpful. If you have any questions, please drop them into the comments. I would love to hear anything that you guys have to say, and we can address it in future videos. I will hopefully catch you in another video later, but until then, have an amazing day.